We're all familiar with blockbuster horror classics such as Psycho, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and The Silence of the Lambs. But did you know these films were all inspired by one monster? In today's case, we'll be looking at the horrific life and crimes of one of the most infamous criminals, Ed Gein. Welcome to the desk. I'm the desktop detective, and this is where strange histories, unsolved mysteries, and a few wild conspiracy theories all end up. So, let's open the file and start connecting the dots. Before we dive into the dark details, a moment for the nails. Edward Theodore Gein was born on August 27, 1906, the second child to strict parents George and Augustina Gein. In Ed's early childhood, his father worked odd jobs such as a carpenter and within the fire department of the city they resided in, La Crosse, Wisconsin. The family also eventually owned a local grocery shop, but soon after sold the business and in 1915 moved to live on a 155-acre farm in the town of Plainfield, Wisconsin. With this move, Ed's childhood grew to be one of isolation, and he would soon only leave the farm to attend school, and this is exactly what Ed's mother wanted. Augusta was an extremely religious Lutheran who wanted to teach her sons the immortalities of the world, with little influence from the outside, going so far as to punish him if he tried to make friends. Every day, she would preach to her sons and recite Bible verses, ones often mentioning death, murder, and divine retribution. She also believed that all women were naturally promiscuous and instruments of the devil, with exception of herself, of course. So you could expect that Ed had a very skewed perspective of women and the world during his most formative years. Because of his upbringing, others would say that Ed was shy and was remembered as having weird mannerisms, like random laughter, as if he told himself a joke. Despite all of this, he was known to do fairly well in school and took a particular interest in reading. As Ed grew older, his mother's grip on him tightened, isolating them even further. Into his adulthood, Ed's father died of heart failure on April 1st, 1940. After their father's passing, Ed and his older brother, Henry, continued to work on the farm and often picked up odd jobs around the town in their father's absence. The brothers would often work as handymen, but Ed also enjoyed his time babysitting for neighbors. With this work, the brothers were looked at as reliable and honest by members of the community. Soon, Henry began dating a woman whose name is unknown. What we do know about her is that she was a divorced mother of two and that the couple had plans to move in with each other. Although Henry did have some concerns moving out of the family farm, as he worried about Ed's attachment to their mother. Henry would often voice his concerns to Ed, speaking ill of their mother, which in turn would upset Ed. Tragedy would soon strike the family again, when on May 16, 1944, Ed started a fire on the property to burn away some March vegetation. Unfortunately, the fire grew and became out of Ed's control, which drew the attention of the local fire department. Once the flames had been extinguished and the fire department had left by the end of the day, Ed came to an unsettling realization. Henry was missing. Ed reported the disappearance, and soon a search party equipped with lanterns and flashlights was formed to search the property under the veil of night, where 43-year-old Henry's dead body was eventually found. He was found lying face down and appeared to have been dead for some time. With no burns or apparent injuries, his cause of death was presumed to be from heart failure. Later in Ed's life, after his crimes came to light, many began to question Henry's death. The police had accepted it as an accident, but no official investigation or autopsy was ever conducted. With the death of his father and brother, this left Ed and his mother alone. Shortly after Henry's death, Augusta had a paralyzing stroke that left her bedridden. Ed then devoted himself to taking care of his mother until she suffered another stroke soon after. Augusta later died on December 29, 1945, leaving Ed truly alone in the world. From the moment his mother passed away, there was a rapid deterioration of Ed's life. As he kept up with his total isolation, he soon started to board up the rooms previously used by his mother, leaving the upstairs, downstairs parlor, and living room untouched and in pristine condition. The remainder of the house turned to squalor as Ed's mind continued to deteriorate. Just like in his school days, Ed became interested in reading again. But this time, his interest took a darker turn. He became fascinated with reading stories that included mentions of cannibalism or Nazi cruelty. One particular fascination was with a woman named Isel Koch, who would select tattooed prisoners for death so that she could use their skin to make lampshades and other items. These reads would certainly inspire Ed for years to come. But the world would not know of these thoughts or what Ed was up to through the years until it was all uncovered on November 16, 1957. The police were tipped off to Ed when a local hardware store owner, Bernice Worden, disappeared. The store's truck was seen leaving the premises at around 9:30 a.m. There was little interaction in the hardware store that day, with the only hint that there may be something wrong coming at around 5 p.m. when Warden's son, Deputy Sheriff Frank Worden, entered the store to find the cash register open and bloodstains strewn about the floor. When reviewing the clues of his missing mother, the deputy sheriff recalled Ed being at the store the night prior, and he would be back the next day to purchase some antifreeze. Additionally, the last receipt written by Bernice ended up being for the sale of the antifreeze to Ed Gein. With these developments, the police would arrest Ed at the local grocery store, and the Washoe County Sheriff's Department would launch a search of the Gein farm. Upon the initial search of the residence, Warren's decapitated body would be discovered, hung upside down by her ankles and her stomach slashed open, embodying the same technique one would do on a deer. Warden's cause of death was determined to be a gunshot from a .22, with the mutilations occurring post-mortem. But this was just scratching the surface of the horrors the police would find. Some of the gruesome findings police uncovered including, and again, warning, a wastebasket made of human skin covering several chairs, bowls made of human skulls, a corset and leggings made from human skin, masks made from the faces of female heads, a belt made from female human nipples, a pair of lips on a window shade drawstring, a lampshade made from the skin of a human face, and much more. After all of these horrific findings were made, Ed was questioned and confessed to exhuming the bodies of women who had been recently buried between the years of 1947 and 1952. He stated he visited 3 local graveyards close to 40 times for these deeds. Ed claims that during around 30 of those visits, he would wake up from a dazed-like state and return home empty-handed. During the other visits, he admitted to stealing from 9 graves of recently buried middle-aged women he believed resembled his mother. While being questioned, Ed admitted to killing 51-year-old Mary Hogan, a tavern owner who had been missing since December 8, 1954. Her head was later found in his home, though he claimed to have no memory of the details surrounding her death. Besides the murders of Hogan and Warden, there were multiple suspicions that Ed was the culprit for several missing persons cases throughout Wisconsin. Ed's key motives for his actions were concluded to be to create a woman suit. Filled with grief after the death of his mother, he convinced himself that he should create this woman suit so that he could become his mother, to literally crawl into her skin. Following the investigation, Ed was charged with first-degree murder on November 21st, 1957, where he pleaded not guilty by reason of insanity. He was soon diagnosed with schizophrenia, making him unfit for trial, and he was sent to the Central State Hospital for the Criminally Insane, a maximum security facility. Almost 4 months later, on March 20th, 1958, just 10 days before Ed's possessions were scheduled to be auctioned off, his home was destroyed by fire. There were suspicions of arson, but the cause of the fire was never officially determined. After an extended stay in the mental hospital, in 1968, Doctors concluded that Ed was not mentally able to confer with the counsel and participate in his defense. With this, a trial, held without a jury, began on November 7, 1968, and lasted 1 week, in which he was found guilty. He then had a second trial to determine Ed's sanity, in which he was found not guilty by reason of insanity. Ed Gein died on July 26, 1984, at the age of 77 at the Mendota Mental Health Institute. He succumbed to respiratory failure due to lung cancer. As you can imagine, the events that unfolded shocked the public, changing the landscape of pop culture forever. He inspired characters such as Norman Bates from Psycho, Leatherface from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Buffalo Bill from The Silence of the Lambs, and many more. This case is everything that makes any true crime story so fascinating, an unsettling convergence of violence, psychology, and cultural impact that explains why his crimes remain etched into history. This case forces us to ask hard questions about evil, obsession, and culture itself. I'd like to hear your thoughts. What part of this case unsettled you the most? Share your perspective in the comments below, and if you want more stories like this, subscribe to join me on the next investigation. Until the next case, the files await.